Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. The saga of the factional fighting in Zanu PF is heating up. In a recent interview, Douglas Mahiya, who is the Secretary of the War Veterans in the party, has warned Comrade Blessed Geza and his colleagues, who have been very critical of the party leader, has warned them that their party, their war veteran services, does not give them power to oppose the 2030 Zanu PF party resolution. It is funny that he should be saying that, because the same war veterans have had sweeping power because of their war veteran service record. The power to commit high treason and even cold-blooded murder. But that was all allowed because it was in the glory of Zanu PF. This is what we, as the people of Zimbabwe, have got to stand up and say no to. Here is one of Zanu PF's best-known war veteran, at least in terms of his sheer ruthlessness, Jawlan Sivanda, posting about his role in the 2008 Operation Mafotera Papi.
2008 patakaita ma-elections pakaposa papinda Tsvangirai ndandiri election agent ya president. Ma-results abuda tiri party headquarters. Vamutasa vanga vari secretary vedu ve-administration. Vamutasa muripi ndafona. Ndiri kwarusapi. Komo gwenda kwarusapi seka ma-results achibuda kudai. Vanga aiwa zvako izvo Mnangagwa ndezvako endaenda kumusha. Office vanga vabisa zvinhu zvavo zvose. Watofunga kuti zani yadini yaparara. President ofona zvakamira sei? Kati ndomamira zvakaita takatodini katida sei manje? Mama ndikati abvudzai baba nditaure navo. Baba gadzirai politburo, cabinet. Musarangarira zvimwe zvinhu, gadzirai chi cabinet. Asi nangoda kuti muzive kuti 2008 ma-results abuda vamutasa vakatiza.
As a country we face a generational transition. Vana vesa vari kuma below 35, they are crying out for help. The country is in a mess. Arusuru, we know we are inheriting a mess. We know this country has been left with nothing.
I'm assuring you that starting from tomorrow, you'll see a different nation from what you have seen or read on the news about these results and everything. Where we are going ahead there, the situation will be very different. What we said to our people, they could not see with their own eyes. We are going to act as we see it fit. We are prepared to go the whole distance.
Leader Morgan Tsvangirai was forced to withdraw from that 2008 presidential runoff, because Zanu PF had declared war on the people, as he put it. And he was right. Millions of Zimbabweans were internally displaced. Hundreds of thousands were beaten, raped, had their properties destroyed, and over 500 were murdered in cold blood by a combination of army, police, CIO, prison services, war veterans, and Zanu PF's youth militia, the Green Bombers. Having a war services record was the license to commit all those outrageous crimes. The army and other members, top brass in the army, in the police and other services, committed high treason in making it very clear that they were not going to salute anyone else who was not a Zanu PF leader. Here is one commander.
We wish to make it very clear to all Zimbabwean citizens that the security organization will only stand in support of those political leaders that will pursue Zimbabwe's value, traditions, belief, for which thousands of lives were lost in pursuit of Zimbabwe's hard-won independence, sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the national interest. To this end, let it be known that the highest office on the land is a straitjacket, whose occupant is expected to observe the objectives of the liberation struggle. We will therefore not accept, let alone support or salute anyone with a different agenda that threatens the very existence of our sovereignty, our country, and our people. By the two crucial values, the first and most important, any report and action designed to create instability in Zimbabwe will be made by full force of law. All should be accountable for their actions. Security organizations have resolved.
That was high treason. Nothing was said about it. Those behind it were not even asked to withdraw their outrageous statements. And so it is not surprising that this has been repeated again more recently by General Sanyatwe when he addressed a rally.
Zanu PF itatonga kusika matonge ameranya. Muchida musingadi. Ameni. Apa ndakutaura sakomanda ami. Shashandisa inonzi command 40. Yes. Yaya masapuku wariti wemusanga chazvika Amen. Zanu PF Mnangagwa pasine mandu security forces saka PC mkuru wemauto ndini.
Let me make this abundantly clear. The war of liberation was fought by all Zimbabweans from all walks of life, the belief that it was there to end the oppression and exploitation of the people of Zimbabwe by the white colonial regime. But alas, before even people had had the chance to exercise their first free, fair, and credible election, that right was snatched away from them. Because Zanu PF, fearful that it may lose the election, campaigned on the basis that if it lost the election, the Bush war would continue. This has been a running theme in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is a failed state because the country has found itself stuck with a corrupt, incompetent, and tyrannical Zanu PF dictatorship, whose leaders believe they have the right to govern. And they've brainwashed all those who fought in the liberation war into believing the purpose of the war was to impose Zanu PF as the only party fit to govern. We are not going to change anything of substance until we address that fundamental problem. Let's be very clear. Zimbabwe is not the only country that had to wage a war of independence, a bitter war of independence. Other nations have done the same. But Zimbabwe is one of those countries in which the leadership of the party that led the war of independence hijacked the revolution for their own selfish political ends. There is nothing healthy about the current position in Zimbabwe, where the ordinary Zimbabweans are being denied their fundamental freedoms and rights in the name of keeping Zanu PF in power. While one agrees with the likes of Blessed Geza and his fellow war veterans who have denounced Mnangagwa as corrupt, a dictator, and incompetent. Of course he is corrupt. Of course he is a dictator. But let me make it very clear. We knew, the people of Zimbabwe knew that all along. In the coup of 2017, the people knew who Mnangagwa was by then. And many warned that the coup replacing Mnangagwa, removing Mugabe to replacing Mnangagwa, was going to achieve nothing. And that is exactly what happened. The Zanu PF dictatorship is the problem. Removing the individual dictator and a few of those around him accomplished nothing. And hence the reason we are where we are today. 8 years down the line, we need another coup. Because Mnangagwa is stand out now, even those who supported him, who imposed him on the nation, have themselves woken up to the reality that he is corrupt, he is incompetent, he is a dictator. But alas, they too have not learned anything. Because while they are denouncing Mnangagwa on the one hand, they are also promoting Wenga on the other, who is just nothing other than just another Zanu PF corrupt, incompetent thug. We are not going to continue this cycle. 45 years after independence, we failed to hold free, fair, and credible elections. For Pete's sake, let's get to our senses. Let's address the real problem. Let's deal with the real elephant in the room, the dictatorship itself. The absurd situation where those who served in the liberation war somehow believe they have the right to impose whoever they like to be the one who rules Zimbabwe. This is a fight to restore the people fundamental freedoms and rights, including the right to have a meaningful say in the governance of the country. This is what it's all about. So we don't agree with Mahiya, nor do we agree with Geza and company. Each one of them is just fighting for one dictator or the other. That is not good to us. After 45 years, we should come up with a clear position that replacing one dictator or keeping one dictator as contrast to another is not going to help the country get out of this economic and political and social mess. We want the freedoms and rights of all Zimbabweans, including the right to a meaningful say in the governance of the country, fully restored. The idea that just because somebody carried the gun during the War of Liberation gives them the veto to decide who governs the country is totally unacceptable. That position is not negotiable. And we are not going to keep repeating the foolishness of 2017 over and over again. Zimbabwe is a pariah state, and this whole debate only serves to confirm that we are incapable of defining what system of government we should follow. And so we are blundering from one dictator to another. This must end. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.